What's up, everybody? It's your friendly neighborhood menace here, and we're going to look at this very interesting debate that Andrew Wilson had with this cast on Piers Morgan Uncensored, and it's about masculinity and why people like Andrew Tate are exploding in popularity, and there's a great reason for it. So let's get into this.
Wilson, when was the last time you cried?
When I had a death in my family.
And how long ago was that, if you don't mind me asking?
Many years. Many years. I don't know, maybe a decade, something like that.
Right. So you haven't shed a tear in a decade?
I don't think so, no.
Would you see it inherently as a weakness in a man to over-emote?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Men, listen, you don't want men to fall to pieces in crisis. You're the head of a family. You're the head of your household. And also you're the heads of nations. You have a moral obligation not to fall to pieces. In fact, I would say you're duty-bound not to. You need to be able to control your emotions, and you need to be able to attempt to control them at all times. It's not to say that you're not going to lose control. Nobody's perfect. But I think that the idea of the stoic man is a much better prospect for the idea of like this leftist that I'm arguing with next to me on the panel. I would not want to be that guy, that person who just cannot control their internal emotions. They can't do it. And unfortunately, again, this is through the viewpoint of the feminine prism that it's only through empathy, right? Empathy first. And it's like, no, it's not always about empathy. It's also about reason. It's also about logic. It's also about understanding that we live in a carnal world full of warring tribes who are always killing each other. And that's part of the human condition. You can't afford to have your men losing.
To this day, people still act like there aren't tribes killing each other, like this barbarianism that man is still exists. Like, look at the guy that tried to go visit that village in Africa, and they killed him. They speared him to death. Like, the fact that people think that we're so conditioned to live in this reality that everything is just so easy, and we're so privileged with this life that we have. We don't realize that there's still people living in caveman-like era. I just think people forget that outside of our privileged, easy lives, it's a whole nother world out there. And a lot of people wouldn't know what to do.
Control to emotion, or to empathy.
James, when was the last time you didn't cry? Let's flip the question around.
I haven't cried today, but I did cry yesterday, and I think it's okay to cry. And it's funny that you keep trying to goad me and saying that I don't have control of my emotions. I think I have incredible control over my emotions because I know what's upsetting me and when, and I'm able to talk about it.
Well, how often do you cry?
I mean, not all the time, but
every day?
No, not every day, Piers. I cried yesterday. I probably haven't cried for about 3 weeks before that. But honestly, my therapist tells me I need to cry, and it's a good relief.
Oh my God.
I think that is such a weakness, Andrew, that you haven't cried in a decade. Like, that's crazy to me.
Told me I could cry.
I'm so worried about you. I can't understand. Well, you're crying now, and please, I happily facilitated that for you.
I think we're seeing the two extremes that Tommy was talking about.
It's honestly, yeah, Tommy, you're so right. There's no nuance. I mean, it's difficult to have nuance on this show anyway, but we do need to find some in this debate.
I think the point is men should not feel they can never emote, but also they shouldn't be encouraged to believe if they're not constantly emoting there's something wrong with them.
Well, of course, but also
that's where the pendulum's just gone too far.
You are also sort of guilty of this manosphere, Piers. You're very much in the manosphere yourself.
What do you think that means?
Well, it means that you think James Bond shouldn't cry, and that if he does, that's a weakness.
Yeah,
I want James Bond to be. I want him to seduce women.
Yeah, bang chicks,
to be a ruthless,
drink liquor,
steely-eyed
smoke cigarettes, kill people.
Also, I want him to have a cigarette with his whiskey or his shaken not stirred martini.
Maybe Andrew is your type.
And I don't want him sobbing like a baby all the time.
Yeah.
Like Tommy might not.
Because guess what? When you're in Her
James
Majesty's
Bond
Secret
so hard
Service,
in the last movie.
You don't have time to cry all the time.
Very sad news about Her Majesty, Piers. Sadly, she did pass away, and I'm sure you cried at that, which is completely
His Majesty
right.
now, obviously.
Tommy,
actually, the last Bond film was under Her Majesty, so I was correct.
Fine. Great fact checking. Tommy would obviously like to go out with a man like you then, because you don't think it's okay for a man to cry.
Well, she has excellent taste.
But there are other women who do like a man that cries. Like, we're not all the same. We don't all require the same type of man. So it's fine if we all want to be different types of men, but there shouldn't be one rule for all men, and that's the problem.
So what they're talking about in this segment right here is a show that came out on Netflix called Adolescence, and this is just it's the most ridiculous show ever, and it is a little white kid that is brainwashed by misogyny online, and he kills some lady, right? And it takes place in the UK. Now, if you made the kid a Muslim immigrant, that might make it an actual documentary. But because it's some little white kid, it's just a fictional story. But Keir Starmer, he seems to think that this was an actual thing.
With our children, I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and it's a very, very good documentary.
Documentary.
Drama. This violence carried out by young men,
spit it out,
by
Junior.
what they see online, is a real problem. It's abhorrent, and we have to tackle it.
It's actually a fictional story, Prime Minister, not a documentary.
Idiot.
As the Prime Minister referenced, it tells the story of young boys who are radicalised by content online. There are references to the manosphere, the Matrix, incels, and red pills. Andrew Tate gets a name check. And that part of the show has sparked an outpouring of commentary about the abject horrors of the internet and the crisis of male role models.
Banged by a girl, you sausage.
You're not getting it.
What am I not getting?
Dad, you're not reading what they're doing. It's a call to action by the manosphere. 80%
the
of
manosphere
women are attracted to 20% of men. You must trick them because you'll never get them in a normal way.
Look at this bullshit. You should, for the American people seeing this, you should look into
Well, the
the
Guardian summed up the
propaganda
general tone of the reporting
that
with a headline
the
that said
UK
from the
does
police to the Prime Minister how adolescents
against
are
white
making
people
Britain
out there.
face up to toxic masculinity. But is it really? Can it not just be a successful drama that references popular culture, as so many do? Critics of the show say it's another version of the same man-bashing narrative that gave rise to the so-called manosphere in the first place. Well, here to debate all this is the host of The Crucible, Andrew Wilson, the radio host, James Barr, the host of Tommy Laren is Fearless on Outkick, Tommy Laren, and the host of The Determined Society, Sean French. Well, welcome to all of you. Andrew Wilson, let me start with you, because look, I've got three sons, 31, 27, 24. I think I brought them up to respect women, to not behave in a misogynist way, and to behave in a pretty decent way generally. But I'm also aware that they've grown up in an era when the likes of Andrew Tate and others have become increasingly dominant in the way that a lot of impressionable young men start to think and view women. And for all that Andrew Tate can say that is positive about getting fit and being successful and confident and so on, there's indisputably a hardcore streak of misogyny that runs through his veins, which I think has been quite damaging to young men. So I'm not all in either way here, but I can certainly see the arguments. Where do you sit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that so I watched the show, and it just goes through a typical feminine view, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
through a feminine
all of these
lens.
things are always through the prism of the feminine. So young boys, they don't do well in school. They don't do well in school because it's all programmed for the feminine. Yep. Stay still, fold your hands, right? Be quiet. Boys are rambunctious. They like to beat each other up. They like to be mischievous. They like to break things. They like to do that kind of stuff. There's no outlet for them to do that stuff. Their teachers are all women, right? There's basically all masculinity is now considered toxic, basically all of it. The same women who are getting their double shot of espresso on the way over to the school they're about to teach at, they're 24 years old. Sometimes they're banging their own students, right? Yep. Hilariously enough. And then these people go out to Parliament. The same women will go to Parliament. They vote to send men off to war to stab each other in the face with bayonets. And you're concerned about toxic masculinity. It cracks me up. It's like the brutal savagery of men is a necessary precondition for society to exist.
Yep.
And we just kind of pretend like it's not. And this show should actually be an indictment on the feminine rather than the masculine, because basically masculinity is just punished everywhere all the time, nonstop. It's no wonder guys like Andrew Tate get so famous in these spaces. I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is everything must be feminine, tone policing, nonsense like this. It's
You
ridiculous.
can't be a man.
All right, James Barr, you were laughing, but I don't think you'd enjoy what you're hearing.
No, I mean I don't think you've seen the show. Episode 2 is shot entirely in a school. I didn't see one of the female teachers drinking a double shot of espresso at all. None of the teachers were flirting with students. There were male teachers as well. I don't think you're describing the show here. I think you're describing your own insecurities or agenda.
Yeah, tone policing.
So this doesn't
shame
contend
tactics.
with the argument. Like, do you understand that I'm making an argument, an indictment of society itself, based around my ideas that I'm seeing from this show? That's what I'm actually doing. So if you could contend with the fact that male savagery is necessary for the security of a nation, and that women will indeed vote in the future in parliaments to send men off to war to stab each other in the face at 18 years old with bayonets, perhaps you can contend with that before we start, getting into, well, tone policing is actually good and toxic masculinity is actually bad. It's like, I think there needs to be a little bit more toxic masculinity, or what you consider to be toxic masculinity.
Nothing.
I'm glad you think so.
Nothing.
No, I mean, I just don't need to argue with that because
you just unlocked. You just unlocked.
Yeah.
You got nothing.
You're making up.
You
an
do
agenda
seem
that
unusually
I've not said
by that.
I've not said anything. I haven't literally said nothing about.
James, you were literally rendered silent. Like you had no way of responding.
I'll tell you what, you can't argue with a completely illogical argument that had, like, I've not made.
It's a logical argument. You may not agree with it.
It's
It's
extremely logical.
a perfectly logical argument
that you are firing at me. None of those comments are things I've said or believe in.
All right, I want to bring Tommy in, because Tommy, you've got a very interesting perspective, I think. You've talked about something different. You call it the pussification of men, which is a great phrase.
They always want these feminists,
explain what you mean by
covert,
that. But also, you're not
conservative
a fan of Andrew
feminists.
Tate or the influence he has. So that's...
They always want to come in and tell you how to be a man. A woman trying to tell a man how to be a man. They don't want any decision. They want to be the ones making the decisions. Oh, well, only if I can tell you what to do because I know better than you as a man. Like, what? And this whole thing with Andrew Tate, he is a reaction to feminism. Feminism had gotten so bad, so toxic for men. And what happens when something like happens? Something that is the exact complete polar opposite is going to come up. And because people are so sick of one side of things, they're going to gravitate naturally to the other. I mean, it's human nature. You bash on someone so much, and then someone says, hey, come over here. We appreciate you. You can be a part of our whole thing, What are they going to do? And they blame men for doing that when they turn their backs on us. They turn their backs on men in society and told us we're evil. We should be demonized. Why do you think they naturally would go that way? It's like, but this is a good argument too right here.
I think an interesting commentator in this area. So just explain, first of all, the pussification of men.
All right, Piers. Well, I think, and I can't see you all, so forgive me if I'm incorrect here, but I think I'm the only female on this panel.
Correct.
So I'm really anxious to weigh in. Okay, so I think over the last probably 10 years, there has been what I call the pussification of men. It was everything should be about your emotions and your feelings, and men were emasculated, and this whole concept of toxic masculinity warped the minds of a lot of young men, and they felt masculine, they wanted to be masculine, but society was telling them they should be softer, that it was being toxically masculine if you wanted to play sports and chop wood and go to war. And so men were so emasculated and so beat down that then there was this revolution of what was actually toxic masculinity, the Tate brothers and others, which I feel as a female that doesn't represent true masculinity. That to me represents douchebaggery. And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. I see that as being actually masculine. That's like the man that I grew up with, my dad. But what we're seeing now is these young men who look at Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers and they see somebody who's just quite frankly a douchebag and disrespects women, and because they've been so emasculated, they're like, oh great, that's a manly man.
She's making my
but
point
that's
for
not
me.
right either. So at some point, I think we'll go back to maybe meeting in the middle here. You can be a man who has feelings and emotions, but you can also go to war and protect and defend your family.
Andrew's gonna destroy her
I'm hoping we
argument.
can get back there. But the two extremes right now, they're confusing men, and quite frankly, they're leaving women with few choices. And that's the real tragedy here.
You see, I completely agree with you, but Andrew, you were shaking your head quite vigorously. Why?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just more feminine or feminist nonsense ultimately. And the covert feminism in society is big, especially on the conservative side. So here's what happens, right? Women need to have feminine virtues for men to be pursuing masculine virtues, for you to say things like, well, men, what I want is for men to protect me and I want men to make money. Well, that's great.
Why should we?
What that ends up doing is it gives you a set of privilege in society. What do men get? What do men get for doing that for you? What are we getting from women for doing that? Are we getting chaste virgins on our wedding night?
No.
No, we're not getting chaste virgins on our wedding night. Are we getting women of great virtue? No, we're not getting women of great virtue. The idea of courtly love is supposed to be done for women of great virtue. Where are they? Well, they're nowhere. And so in modernity, in society, when female conservative influencers say this, it's actually a form of covert feminism. They're saying, I want privilege in society, right? But what is it women are giving to men to get it? What? What are they giving them? Tell me.
Well,
Can I please chime in here?
Yes, you can. And then James can, and I'll come to you, Sean.
No, I would love to. I love this whole thing of like, if you're a female conservative and you don't believe that men should be douchebags, that all of a sudden you're a covert feminist. Call me a feminist. I really don't give one crap one way or another, but I can tell you this. A lot of these men, these podcast hosts on the right that like to think of themselves as these big masculine men, and what am I getting out of it? I can tell you this.
There's that feminism.
All right, I believe I'm a woman of virtue,
coming
right?
out.
Yeah, there's the feminism. Oh, and then you're interrupting me too,
Didn't
which
take
is great.
long,
I let
did
you
it?
talk
Didn't
as
take
well.
long.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to speak over a man?
Yeah, I don't care if you call me. I don't really care if
woman?
you call me a
Strong,
feminist.
independent woman.
Yeah. Yeah. You're actually interrupting me. I didn't interrupt you when you were spewing your bullshit. So now it's my turn. Okay.
You mean the truth?
Like I said before, so I believe there we go again. Piers, I'm a woman of virtue. I happen to be independently successful. I have a husband who's not only a former professional athlete, but is currently a professional baseball.
She shits on men all the time. She went viral for her fucking little shitting on men rant that she came out with a couple years ago because she couldn't get a boyfriend. Now I guess she's married. I didn't know she was married. The last I heard, she couldn't find a fucking dude to date. But apparently she did get some simp to marry her.
So is he not a masculine man? I mean, I'm confused here. What's your concept of a masculine man? Mine is a man who respects me.
Yeah, that misses the point, though. Like, you're still not contending with the argument that I'm making.
What's your point?
I'm saying inside of society, right this second, right, masculinity is not only punished, but also women on the right, covert feminists on the right, are constantly and consistently talking about how they need to have privilege in society. I want men. Their version of masculinity is men who take care of us, men who protect us, men who do all of this. Those are all duties that men have towards women. Great. What are the duties that women have towards men? What are the duties that women have towards anything? What do men get out of this arrangement? What are we getting out of this arrangement? Can you tell me?
I mean, as I was going to answer a second ago,
I don't want to interrupt you.
Hang on one second. Let Tommy respond.
Most men are born that way.
Let Tommy respond to that, and then I'll come to you, Jez. And then Sean, you've been waiting patiently. So
most men are born to be protectors and providers. I can't imagine my dad saying, you know what, to my mom, you know what, I'm not going to be a protector and a provider unless you do this. That's not how real men operate. Real men are protectors and providers.
Telling us,
and they marry
a woman
women
telling us what real men are.
A woman telling us what real men are.
But also bring a lot to the table as well that are great mothers, great wives, caretakers of the home. There's nothing wrong with being a traditional wife and mother. You're misunderstanding me if you think that I think that women should just be out doing whatever they want. I think that there are gender roles that should be respected. But I don't think a man needs to get something out of it to be a manly man, a protector, and a provider. If you think you need to get something out of it, I quite frankly don't consider you a real man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have
Okay.
nothing. So you have nothing.
But we'll
No
discuss
women's
in a
immunities,
moment whether
nothing,
Andrew
they skip
Wilson is a
privilege.
real man.
Piers,
Let's
I
go
offer nothing. I offer nothing.
You
He didn't
offer me
offer
a
a
lot
single
of
argument.
things, Tommy.
No.
That's why I always love having you on the show. You know that. Let's go to a real man, James Barr.
Thank you. I do see myself as a man. And I know that you'll be looking at me thinking,
That was a
well,
good
you're
one.
not. You're wearing makeup. You're wearing colourful clothes. Like, look at me. I'm really camp. My nails are
Yeah, I
painted.
mean, they are worrying
You know,
signs, I
you're
agree.
sat there smoking a cigarette.
the
I'd love to get a
chameleon,
vape out
boy.
and start drinking a beer. You know,
Just
pints
twink.
with the lads. Just connect with you over that. I think that you have some insane opinions on what women are meant to do for you. It's crazy that you don't appreciate that a woman actually gave birth to you. Like, she gave you a womb for 9 months and then looked after you, I would hope, for the beginning of your life. And you're sat there going, what do women owe men?
Okay.
Women don't owe.
This guy makes no coherent argument. This is already getting way too long. Go watch the video if you want to see the whole thing on Uncensored. I tried to get the best parts. And let me know what you think. Andrew Wilson destroys them again, as usual. And it was kind of upsetting to see Tommy Lauren, but she's so loud and just obnoxious sometimes that I knew this was going to happen, because she has such strong opinions on what she thinks men should be, on what she thinks men need to do. And it's like, dude, another chick that another covert feminist, as he said, like, they use the grift of being a conservative just so they can spout their feminist talking point nonsense, and they'll find a bunch of white knight beta cuck simps to listen to what they're saying, but ultimately you got to see through this bullshit. All right, let me know what you think. Modern Menace, peace. I'm out.